This woman, who was probably quite attractive, presented her blind date with a bill, $4,100 USD. What can the man do? What's that posted on the umbrellas here? The price of daughters. In today's China, while the economy is rapidly declining, women are demanding increasingly higher prices for marriage, yet men are no longer willing to pay. Amid a materialistic atmosphere, the number of lonely men and women is growing. Today, let's focus on the leftover women in China. First, check out the result of this woman's blind date. She ordered several high-end dishes, resulting in a $4,100 bill, leaving the man stunned. Halfway through the meal, the man quietly left the restaurant. I've never seen such a shameless man. If you don't have money, why are you going on blind dates? Yesterday, my blind date was supposed to be dinner, so I ordered some seasonal dishes, like king crab, black tiger prawns, and sea cucumber with millet. Then, seeing the food in this restaurant looked pretty good, I ordered 3 servings of sea cucumber with millet and 3 servings of bird's nest. I was thinking of packing these up to take home for my besties to try. Then I ordered a king crab. I said, this needs to be packed carefully. I want to take it home for my younger brother to try, because he's never tasted it before. This woman said that halfway through the meal, the man said he was going out to make a phone call, and the man never came back. The pissed lady said, I waited for 2 whole hours and he still didn't come back. I called him, but he didn't answer. I sent him WeChat messages, but he blocked me. In the end, I had no choice but to use my credit card, which cost $4,100. It really ripped me off. Netizens responded, isn't that reaping what you sow? You might wonder, the lady unable to afford the expensive bill makes the man pay? Because in the Chinese women's standard, a man should earn more money and only such a man is worth marrying. Traditional Chinese marriage ethics and values have almost vanished today. Many women are increasingly inclined to use marriage for personal gain, and of course, a small number of men are the same. Let's take a look at Shanghai's matchmaking corner. You can see several damas sitting on the ground, each with an umbrella in front of them. They aren't umbrella vendors. The umbrellas display the names of their daughters and a few sons as well. The profiles listed their daughter's or son's height, weight, personality, and age, along with their desired partner's height, whether they owned a condo, and their educational level. These details were clearly written down. The only thing not disclosed was the applicant's photo. This peculiar matchmaking event in Shanghai is called a matchmaking corner, and it exists not only in Shanghai but also in major Chinese cities like Beijing and Sichuan. Parents display their children's age, height, weight, education, overseas study experience, employment status, and their parents' health and assets on the umbrellas. They also list their criteria for a partner, such as owning a car, a home, and having local residency. Based on this information, both parties are psychologically prepared. 2 interested mums will chat for a while, and if things feel right, they will show each other photos on their phones. This is a microcosm of Chinese marriage values. In a utilitarian society, everything is based on material conditions. Without a house or, in some cities, local residency, one is considered low-end in the marriage market. Recently, many girls in Shanghai have complained to me that they just want to find a guy who doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, is emotionally stable, and doesn't go to bars, and works a stable job every day. They'd be willing to marry him even if they had to pay him, but they just can't seem to find one. If you're a guy like that and you're still single, stop hiding, stand up. Shanghai girls are waiting for you. The number of marriage registrations in China in the first quarter of 2026 hit a new low since the pandemic, with 1.697 million couples registering for marriage and 622,000 couples registering for divorce nationwide. This means that if you can get married at 30, you'll be ahead of 40% of your peers in Chinese cities. About 20 years ago, a contradictory trend emerged in China. On the one hand, in first and second tier cities, the financial demands of economically independent single women for choosing a partner rise sharply. On the other hand, in vast rural areas, the bride price that men had to pay is skyrocketing. $14,000 is almost the minimum standard, while this amount is astronomical for the average rural family's income. Therefore, in China's large cities, there are more and more leftover women. In rural areas and small cities, there are more and more leftover men. Why don't men want to get married anymore? I've asked many guys this question, and the consistent reason they all gave me is that they don't have money. Yes, it's because they don't have money that they dare not get married. A man born in 1989 told me, "Look, dating costs money these days. The main thing is, even if you spend money, there's a high probability you won't get anything. You've spent almost all the money, and in the end, you haven't gotten the person." Secondly, some people genuinely can't afford a home, so they simply give up on the idea of marriage and just give up, because no girl is willing to suffer with a guy. I saw some data today. It says that 71% of men born after 1995 who are still unmarried are not married. That means 7 out of 10 men are still single. Don't you think that's terrifying? If you randomly grab a young person on the street and ask them why they don't want to get married, will they say it's for freedom? They just don't say what's on their minds. The truth is, it boils down to 2 words: no money. That's the biggest truth of this era. The blogger said that weddings for their parents' generation were simple. A few tables of food and drinks were enough. After the children were born, although life wasn't wealthy, it was full of laughter and joy. But things are different now. Generally, getting married requires buying a home. The man often has to empty his parents' savings to buy a condo and then take on a mortgage for 20 or 30 years. With such pressure looming, how many people dare to step into marriage so easily? Being unmarried in the 30s has become the norm. I know plenty of people in their 30s who are still single, and quite a few are divorced. Ultimately, it's not that they don't want to get married, it's that they simply can't find anyone, and they don't know where everyone has gone. Before, you could find an excuse for not having a car, a house, or money. But now, there are even more people with cars and houses who are still unmarried. So, where does the problem lie? A very real situation is, girls from rural areas are married off to boys from county towns, and girls from county towns are married off to boys from big cities. In the end, only girls from big cities and boys from rural areas are left, and these 2 groups are practically impossible to find in the dating market. The blogger says that some people have been single for so long that they become accustomed to living alone and have gradually lost the courage to meet new people. They worry about disrupting the rhythm of their life and don't want to spend any more energy adjusting to another person. Especially in recent years amid China's economic downturn, the high cost of marriage has made urban men increasingly cautious. If the burden of marriage is too heavy, then they stay away. Now, it's not just men without money who dare not get married. Many men who have money also dare not get married. Many men say, if I spend this money and we can have a good life, that's worth it. But if I spend so much money and we still argue frequently, blame each other, and end up getting divorced, then it's all for nothing. The main reason is that marriage is too unpredictable now, and people are beyond our control. So many people, even if they have money, dare not get married. 30 years of rapid economic development in China have created a large number of leftover women, many of whom are already in their 30s and 40s. Now they are starting to get anxious. The marriage market is undergoing subtle changes. This year it's noticeable that many women are starting to feel anxious about marriage, even willing to negotiate hard conditions like bride price and housing. But the result is surprising. Many men are now not taking the bait. The reality is that many men are completely tired of dating, feel the cost of getting married is too high, and have simply chosen to give up and no longer consider marriage. If this trend continues, in a few years, it might be women who are truly panicking. This change in men's mentality directly impacts women with limited financial resources. These women often have low incomes, but as only children, they have been pampered by their parents and have never experienced life's hardships. Many low-income, older leftover women in Ningbo are driven to the brink of madness by anxiety. Why? Because the era of simps is over. Today's simps are very clear-headed. They no longer act as backup options, sending red envelopes and gifts. After all, the current economic climate is tough and money is harder to earn. They're starting to face their pressures alone, and today's simps are very wary and won't easily be fooled. So, women who are used to a life of ease and lack independent living skills are finding it increasingly difficult to find suitable support. Their anxiety is intensifying daily, and they feel very lost about the future. Most of these single women are influenced by prevailing ideas. In their 20s, they invested a lot of time and energy in their studies and careers, believing that professional success was the primary guarantee of happiness in life. When they start seriously planning for marriage around the age of 30, they look back at the dating market and find that most of their eligible bachelors are already married with children. If you're an older, leftover woman and you have a house, a car, and a career, I really suggest you choose not to get married. You don't need to put up with this humiliation, and you certainly don't need to feel like a matchmaker is manipulating you. Every time we recommend women to men, the first thing they ask is, how old is she? How old is this woman? Is she pretty? Can I see her picture? Then they'll ask about her education, job, and family background. No man will immediately ask if she owns a house or a car, or how much she earns a month. So, have you noticed? The needs of men and women in the dating market are completely different. In recent years, a new term has become popular on the Chinese internet, middle-aged girl. This is how many middle-aged women refer to themselves. What women fear isn't getting old, but rather getting old and still having nothing, having no value whatsoever. For the videos featuring women in their 30s, there are always comments saying, I don't look 30, I look like I am in my 20s. Now, I want to tell you a harsh truth. While many women do maintain a youthful appearance, you must remember one thing, only look alike. Just because you think you look in your 20s doesn't mean the dating market will treat you like one, so you must face reality. This dating blogger says that many of the older women who consult her are quite accomplished. They own property in major cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, have stable incomes, and live independently. They want a husband whose circumstances matches their own, which is understandable. But for a man with similar qualities, he might think, since I could choose younger women, why am I focusing on women in their 30s? This woman had been quite content living alone, but when she saw 4 of her friends get married one after another, she couldn't help but wonder if it was time for her to get married too. My basic situation is that I'll be 33 by the traditional Chinese age reckoning, unmarried and childless, and have been single for 3 years. Initially, I was pleasantly surprised when I received wedding invitations from my friends because although they were older, their husbands were all quite good. Their sweet smiles and some of my family's voices suddenly made me feel left behind. It is like being in an exam hall where everyone else has finished and left, while I am still struggling to think. I found I couldn't find my former clear-headedness and composure. Instead, my mind was foggy, and I can't see the future. I start to question my choices. Perhaps settling for less in some relationships isn't so bad. Why do I insist on being single, on embarking on the journey of my dreams? What will I ultimately gain? After clearing her thoughts, she realized that there are no standard answers in life. If a woman's expectation for the future is marriage and children, then go for it. But she knew very well that her main focus in life was self-growth and pursuing her dreams, so she would take it at her own pace and not envy others. For single women in today's environment, there's another blow, the risk of unemployment. Therefore, corresponding tutorials have appeared. I got married at 36, my birth year in the Chinese zodiac, and I finally escaped being single. Are you currently experiencing relentless pressure from your family to get married? Are you scrolling through social media but feeling like you might be destined to be alone forever? As someone who was a seasoned leftover woman before 34, I won't talk nonsense today. These 4 pieces of advice, learned through blood and tears, are meant to pull you out of your anxiety. First, never stop making money. I was naive once too. I quit my job at 32. I thought being single was because I was too busy with work and wanted to free up time for blind dates. The result? Those 6 months only increased my anxiety, achieving nothing. Sisters, remember this, never carry the label of older while also bearing the burden of unemployment. Your job and career are your greatest assets at the blind date table. You might think that the wave of leftover women in China is a natural process. Based on our observations, it's not. The CCP's policies are fundamentally aimed at subverting the traditional culture of this ancient country, and that is the root cause of the large number of single women in cities and single men in rural areas today. The core of communism is public ownership, and its primary task is to eliminate private ownership. The last bastion of private ownership is marriage and family. Since the reform and opening up of the 1990s, everything has revolved around money in China. Money is the sole measure of a person's worth. In cities, men and women are increasingly guided away from moral constraints, and the bed things of men and women are seen as a mere physiological act, like drinking a cup of water. As early as 2,000 or 3,000 years ago during the Western Zhou dynasty, Chinese society had developed a grand wedding ceremony. For example, at that time, the groom's gifts to the bride often included wild geese. Geese are migratory birds that never break their promises, implying that couples should also keep their word. Geese only have one mate for life, symbolizing fidelity between spouses. Furthermore, the way geese fly, the older geese in front, followed by the younger and weaker, is unique to the migratory birds, symbolizing the hierarchical order within the family. After the groom brings the bride home, the couple first bows to heaven and earth, asking them to witness their marriage and supervise their behavior, promising divine punishment for any transgressions. Next, they bow to their parents, thanking them for their upbringing. Finally, the couples bow to each other, signifying their mutual support. This ceremony is often a form of respect and commitment to the gods. Unfortunately today, under the guidance of the CCP, the Chinese people have abandoned their faith in God, replacing it with a faith in money. However, entering 2026, with the deepening economic recession and the loss of wealth, the sense of security among leftover men and women in China is rapidly disappearing. That's all for today. If you enjoy our content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, or share it with a friend. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.